All right, go.
All right, so I will go ahead and just call out who will be reading next and stuff. We'll start with Catherine Hurley.
My story is called The Reflection. Natalie believed in starting each day with a smile and a positive statement to herself in the mirror. One particular morning, she awoke somewhat uncomfortably from a nasty dream, fighting to untangle herself from the sheets. It was very early. The sun had not yet risen, and a thunderstorm was rattling the windows and shaking the branches of the old willow trees above her house. Natalie was starting to feel uncharacteristically glum. Rubbing the sleep from her eyes, she dragged herself out of bed, pulled on an old blue bathrobe, and trudged into the bathroom. One of Natalie's favorite things about her bathroom decor was the mirror. She had found it at an antique store a few weeks before. The glass was a little scratched in places, and there was a small crack in the center, but the bronze frame was elegant and well polished. There were delicate designs embossed all around it, little shells and waves. A small mermaid was engraved on each side, face uplifted and arms stretching skywards. A large burnished bronze skull was carved at the top. This last detail ordinarily would have put ever light-hearted Natalie off from buying it, but the saleswoman, who had seemed very eager to get rid of it, told her that the mirror had hung for years in the captain's cabin of a grand English sailing ship in the 1890s, until the ship was captured by pirates and the mirror stolen and sold to French traders. Such a romantic backstory had captured Natalie's attention at once, and she readily paid and took the mirror home. Now, on this shadowy, rain-lashed morning, Natalie stepped in front of the mirror and ran a hand through her curly, disheveled hair. She took a few deep breaths, eyes closed, and then looked up and flashed a cheerful grin at her reflection. But something was wrong. The reflection didn't move. It stood before her with a stony expression on its face, thick red curls just like Natalie's own, glowing a harsh gold in the light from the old-fashioned wall sconces. The smile slid from Natalie's face. She held stone still, heart pounding, almost too terrified to move. The silence was thick as blood for several long moments. Suddenly, the reflection's face cracked into a smile, a triumphant, malicious smile. Shocked, Natalie stumbled backwards. Her bare foot snagged on a rug, and she crashed to the floor. Her reflection stood over her. It seemed to be laughing maniacally, although there was no sound in the bathroom except for the hammering of Natalie's own heart and the rush of her breath. Her eyes grew wide with fear. She watched the mirror as the reflection walked to the shower, grabbed the curtain rod, and yanked. She immediately found herself entangled in crinkly plastic as the shower curtain fell to the floor. "Hey!" she sputtered, flailing her arms. She clawed the curtain from her face and looked back at the mirror. Her reflection was holding the reflection of the curtain rod and bashing it into the top of the bronze frame, over and over. The real rod was floating in front of the mirror, striking in time with its reflection. Natalie noticed a thin crack spreading down the center of the bronze skull. It seemed to be growing larger with every blow. A sudden, haunting, inexplicable horror began to build within Natalie. She knew somehow that if she did not stop the reflections, something terrible would happen. Her head spun as she leaped to her feet, nearly tripping over the curtain. She rushed to the mirror and grabbed a hold of the metal rod. The reflection's eyes narrowed. It tried to swing again, but Natalie was pulling it away from the mirror. For a full minute, they were locked in combat, each fighting to gain control of the weapon. Then they stopped. Frozen in place, the rod in a halfway position, Natalie was quivering with fear, and the reflection quivering with rage. Suddenly, the anger faded from its face, replaced by a smirk. It yanked backwards, catching Natalie by surprise. The end of the rod hit her in the face, and she fell. The reflection swung the metal shaft around and smashed out one of the wall sconces. The light flickered and shorted out. "No!" screamed Natalie. She reached toward the mirror, but it was too late. She caught a glimpse of the reflection's sneer just as the second sconce smashed to pieces, plunging the room into complete darkness. Natalie huddled on the floor, terrified. Her ears filled with the cracking of the frame as the reflection beat at the bronze skull again and again. Suddenly, a deafening roar erupted from somewhere in the dark, and the room began to shake. Natalie was flung through the air like a scrap of paper in a hurricane. She felt as though she were spinning, being pulled along in a deadly spiral toward an ancient, malevolent force. All at once, the spinning stopped. Natalie found herself lying again on the cold tile floor of the bathroom. Had she been able to see in the dark like the reflection could, she would have understood that she was trapped, that her world was now encased by a gleaming bronze frame. She would have seen that on the other side of the glass stood a perfect image of her, identical to the last detail. She would have seen it screaming with triumphant laughter, finally free of a time-worn curse, bending down to pick up the dented shower rod. She would have seen it raise the rod and swing. But she didn't see any of these things. She would never know that she had become the reflection, that she was trapped in the mirror forever. What she did see was a final blinding flash of light as the mirror was shattered into 1,000 glittering shards.
Oh, it's so good.
So you can hear.
Can I say a few words between people's things? I just like really know. So I'm sorry, it's Catherine, right? Perfect. Oh my goodness. This was such a joy to read. It gave me chills again having you read it out loud. I think my favorite part is when the reflection and I already forgot your character's name. That's so terrible of me. It's Scorpion.
It's Natalie.
Natalie. You just barely said it, so I don't know why I forgot. But Natalie and her reflection, well, one quivers with fear and one quivers with rage because you have that reflection and they're doing the same thing at the same time, but for two different reasons. Oh, mwah, beautiful. And all of your descriptions, thick as blood, like a scrap of paper in a hurricane. Please continue writing. Please never stop. It was such a joy to read, and it was fantastic to have you read it out loud. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. I just got an update that Joe and Amelia won't be able to join us. So we'll go ahead and go to Maggie. If you'd like to read your poem.
Thank you. My poem is called Dreams. It's by Maggie Daly. When you lay down at night to be filled with fright in the land that we call dreams, you are the maker but also the player in the land that we call dreams, where your fears live but also where your dreams give in the land that we call dreams. But to your surprise, you cannot wake up. You are trapped, you are lost in the land that we call dreams.
Yes. Yes. That's all I can say is yes. You have a really excellent use of what we call anaphora. It's basically you repeat the same line several times in the land that we call dreams. It makes things sound almost like a ritual, which I think is really, really interesting and powerful because you're talking about dreams, which is this night ritual that we all have, that we all participate in. I think it's a really excellent choice for a spooky poem. I like how conceptual and how much it makes you think, and it still gives me the chills. Everyone's story gives me the chills. That makes it sound like I don't have good judging capabilities, but really everyone has written excellent pieces, and thank you so much for writing a poem. Poetry is one of my favorite genres of writing, so also you need to keep writing. Keep writing, never stop. I think what you did was wonderful, and dreams are always freaky, so that was a really good choice to write on. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll have Adelaide. If you'd like to read your story.
Okay, here we go. Okay, good. Echo the bat skittered around his tree hollow home. It was nearly dawn. That meant his bedtime was near. Suddenly the wind started howling. Thunder rumbled overhead. Echo felt the wet feeling of a raindrop on his head. Frightened, Echo scrambled straight up to his hollow. The other bats were huddled up together in the hollow. An old bat called Flapper explained the problem. A thunderstorm is raging. Stay inside the hollow and you will be safe. Echo fearfully huddled up beside the tree wall. When will it be okay to go outside? He asked Flapper. Maybe tomorrow, said Flapper. Echo stepped carefully toward the entrance to the hollow. The winds blew and raindrops fell. Suddenly a huge lightning bolt cracked in the sky and came straight for the hollow. Crack! The tree fell over and crashed to the ground. The bats all flew out of the tree and hid by a huge rock. Now the bats were homeless. When the tree fell over, Echo was sucked into the storm. Help! Cried Echo, but nobody could hear him. Echo flapped his wings as hard as he could, but the winds kept pulling him away from his hollow home. The wind blew him for a long time. Then it blew past an old manor. The wind suddenly curved. Yeah. Saying yeah, and slammed Echo into the window. Squeak! The windows creaked with a terrible sound. Squeak! Echo called for help. Help! Another lightning bolt cracked. Crack. It came down and hit the window. Luckily, Echo wasn't hit, but he fell straight into the mandarin chandelier. Echo shivered. The chandelier was lined with stone dragons. They were angrily frowning. Echo was curious. He tapped the dragon on the nose. Growl. Echo shrieked and threw his wings up in the air. Snuff. Huff. The dragon rubbed its nose. Echo shook in fear. Please don't eat me, the dragon sniffed. Why would I eat you? I only eat big things. The dragon leaped out the chandelier and started ambling down the stone wall. Echo followed him. Where are you going? Echo inquired. To get my bathrobe, replied the dragon. What's a bathrobe? Asked Echo. The dragon sighed. When they climbed off the wall, Echo noticed that the front room of the old manor had a large fluffy room. Then he remembered his homeless colony. He then had an idea. Hey, maybe my colony can move here. Don't they have a perfectly good home? The dragon questioned. Echo explained that their tree had been struck by lightning. I still don't know if it's a good idea. Suddenly, the sound of a loud howl pierced the room. The dragon looked out the hall and a huge werewolf was chasing a black cat. Black cat shrieked and the werewolf howled. Echo hid behind the dragon. Stop! Yelled the dragon. Cat and the werewolf screeched to a halt. Okay. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, the cat fiddled with his tail. The werewolf laid his ears back. Are you awake, dragon? The bat tapped me on the nose, Spooker. And you need to quit it. The cat grinned at Spooker and licked his paw. Scratch. You need to tell someone when Spooker chases you. I am disappointed. The cat's grin turned upside down. You know them? Said Echo. The dragon nodded grimly. The dragon then looked at a watch on his wrist. Oh, it's mealtime. Spooker and Scratch grinned. Yes, said Scratch. Follow me, said the dragon. They all followed him into a large room with an old-fashioned kitchen and a large dining table. The dragon walked over to the kitchen and opened the pantry. I'll prepare the meal while you sit down. Echo, Spooker, and Scratch sat down and stared at the floor while the dragon prepared the meal. After a short time, the dragon came over. He brought Echo a teacup of blood, poured Scratch a bowl of kitty crunch. Scratch scowled at this, and he gave Spooker 3 cucumbers. The dragon got himself a 3-foot steak. Spooker drooled. They ate quietly. Spooker poked at his cucumbers. Scratch reluctantly chowed his cat food. The dragon gnawed his steak, and Echo lapped up the cup of blood. The dragon said, We have been considering moving from this house, but there is a problem, little bat. Boss Skeleton. He's a great evil in this house with his 2 sidekick. He orders us to do what he pleases. Maybe we can stop him, said Echo. Where does he lurk? 2 hours. The friends devised a plan to stop the boss skeleton. Echo skittered across the skeleton's corridor. Can anybody help me? He said in a high voice. I'm lost. Help me. 3 shadows swooped down from overhead. He coughed. Spooker heard this and ran toward the corridor, hid behind the pillar. An owl, a ghost, and a goblin stood on the ugly rug. What? Hooted the owl. I am a little bat, lost and scared. Spooker coughed again. Spooker jumped out, knocked the owl, the goblin, and trapped the ghost in a transparent orb. Spooker ran away, and then Scratch came back with Spooker and the dragon. Suddenly, the skeleton's door started opening. Echo hit on Spooker's back. What are you doing? Roared the skeleton. Echo jumped out at the skeleton. Ah! The skeleton shivered his eyes. He hated bats. Dragon, Spooker, and Scratch jumped upon and tackled the skeleton to the floor. Echo ripped out his ice stone, and the skeleton shriveled into a pile of dust. His teleport stone fell onto the floor. Echo teleported his friends to Transylvania. Wow, we did it, said the dragon. They all said their goodbyes, and Echo's friend ran off to the forest of Transylvania. Echo teleported back to his home. The storm had stopped. Rainbow Harvest. Echo hid the teleport stone in the perfect place. Yeah, he planted a little flower there to remind him where the stone was. He gestured up to the boulder. Hey guys, I found somewhere we can move. It's done now. Yeah, together. There you go. Nice.
I love this. I love this story. I especially love that you chose to write about bats, which I love bats. I think they're so cute. So many people give them a bad rap. So kudos to you for changing people's minds about bats. I think my favorite part about your writing is that your characters are so vivid. I can picture Scratch, Spooker, Echo, and the Dragon all very, very clearly. They all have their own personalities. I just think that you are a wonderful writer. Please keep writing. Never stop. Please enter next year. I'm so excited to read more from you.
Adelaide, how old are you?
I'm 10 this December.
Oh,
I gotta turn 10 this December. Yeah.
okay, 4th grade. Yeah.
All right. Okay, then we will do another poem by Kate Daly.
Our dad would like to hear, so could we just wait for him?
Oh yeah. Yep, we can go on. And welcome, Noelle. Glad you joined us.
You're ready.
Okay, so
Oh, okay.
my eyes are green as trees, my fur is black as the night sky, my feet are quick, my body is slim, my nose is wet, my claws are sharp, I like to slide and skim around. I am a Kate Daly.
I love that you don't say what the creature is in the poem. I think that's really great. I have an idea. I have my own idea of what the creature is, but I still think it could be a couple different things. And I think that's a really great mark of a Halloween haunted tale poem. I think it's wonderful. I love your use of alliteration. I had it in my brain. I meant to write it down. I think you said slide and skim around. Yes, that was probably my favorite line. So it looks like both of you are going to be submitting next year for Haunted Tales in poetry, right? We're going to do some more with poetry next year. We didn't get around to doing any videos, but poetry is my favorite. So thank you both again. It was really, really wonderful to read your work.
All right, Noelle, do you want to go ahead and read your story?
Sure. So here's my Haunted Tales story. The Cat and the Lamp. Luciana Rubeck and her friend Jenny Willis walked down Isles Lane together, giggling and chattering. Both girls wore billowing purple cloaks and black witches' hats. They were going to a Halloween party at Gaymont Square, and people from all over town would be there celebrating the festivities. The girls reached the cobbled lane at 7 o'clock, the sky beginning to turn dark. Charcoal black lampposts cast an eerie orange glow on the path. Laughter and cheering could be heard from the square ahead. The girls hurried along the path, their cloaks swishing behind them. Upon arriving at the square, they saw that many other people had dressed up in costumes as well. As they walked down the middle of the street, Luciana counted 6 ghosts, 8 zombies, 3 Frankenstein's brides, and about 20 witches, along with many other assorted costumes and creatures. Luciana checked her watch. The music concert will begin at 7:30, but meanwhile, we can go to the face painting, the beanbag toss, the dance party, or the haunted house, Luciana said, wiggling her eyebrows at the last one. Ooh, let's go to the haunted house, said Jenny. It's just up that street, I think, Luciana replied, pointing up at a creaky black mansion at the top of the hill, spotted with bright red and orange autumn leaves. The girls trekked up toward the creepy old house, pausing now and then to peer in cheery shop window displays. Just as they were leaving a display of candles in one shop window, a girl with bright red hair came running up to them. Hi, Jenny. Hey, Luciana, she cried. Gemma, they exclaimed. The red-haired girl embraced them each in a big hug. She, too, was dressed as a witch. She wore an orange polka-dotted dress, shiny black boots, and a black cloak fastened around her shoulders. Orange and black striped stockings covered from her knees down, and a pointed black witch's hat was perched atop her head. We were just going up to the haunted house. Want to come along? Jenny asked. Sure, Gemma replied excitedly. So the girls strolled up to the mist-shaped front steps of the mansion and lingered among the group of people waiting to go in. Soon the intricate double doors creaked open, their cracked paint peeling. The crowd shuffled into the circular entrance hall. 8 dark blue doors surrounded them, gilded portraits decorating the dank walls alongside ancient-looking torch brackets, the girls' reflections dancing in the orange flames. Suddenly, a spooky, deep male voice thundered from hidden speakers placed strategically around the room. Welcome to the haunted house of Gaymont Square, the voice boomed. You have half an hour to find your way out of this room, and if you don't, ha ha ha, I laughed manically. There was a loud crack, and the 8 doors opened with a groan. Come on, squealed Luciana. The three girls chose a door with a fancily carved 7 over it and hurried through it. They crept down a darkened hall filled with old portraits, cobwebs adorning the corners. At the end of the hallway, they found a dark red door, splattered with what looked like blood. An ornate black lantern hung next to the door, the shadowed silhouette of a black cat thrown onto the floor by the candle's flame. For a moment, Luciana thought there was an actual cat there, but then realized the shadow was the cause of a miniature iron cat inside the lantern. Luciana pointed out the cat lantern to Gemma and Jenny. Then, to Luciana's amazement, the cat turned around, raised its paw, and beckoned to her. Luciana blinked. The cat beckoned again. I think it wants you to follow it, Gemma whispered over Luciana's shoulder. Luciana turned. So you can see it too? She asked. Gemma and Jenny were wide-eyed and rigid. They too were staring at the cat suspiciously. Yes, replied Jenny softly, a tremor of fear in her voice. Luciana faced the cat. But follow it where? She pondered. As if in response, the cat strolled out of that oval-shaped space where it had stood in the lantern, and the lantern stretched and lengthened until it was as long as wide as the doorway next to it. A small brass door handle appeared on one of the lantern's glass panels. The girls exchanged worried glances. Shall we open it? Questioned Luciana. Open it? I can't stand the tension, cried Gemma. No, it might not be safe, Jenny exclaimed, throwing an arm to hold back Luciana. Oh, what have we got to lose? Luciana asked. Oh, I don't know, maybe our lives? Jenny cried. But before Jenny could say another word, Gemma strode up to the oversized lantern, swung open the panel door, and stepped inside. Luciana pulled the protesting Jenny along inside the lantern, too. The moment they had entered the lantern, everything turned blurry, and Luciana was falling, Jenny screaming, filling her ears. Flashes of color whipped around Luciana, and it felt as though she would never stop falling, until, oof, Luciana hit the ground with a thud. To be continued on another spooky night.
That kills me. That kills me. I want to know what happens. And that is because you wrote so well. I can really, really picture everything you described in vivid color, which I think is a really important sensation to evoke in stories. A lot of people forget about color, and you did not. So I can see all of the pictures you painted in vivid color. I think that's wonderful. It reminds me of a Halloweeny Alice in Wonderland, which also is my jam. So I hope you submit part 2 next year to the Haunted Tales contest, or if not, you need to tell me where I can read part 2, because I'm dying to know what happens.
All right. Last but not least, we'll have Micah read his poem.
Long ago, there was a teacher quite merry, but it made him look more scary. Students would sleep, and then they would weep for a nap on them and F on their essay. One day, he
Hold on,
didn't
Micah.
show up,
Micah,
not even in his coffee cup. The students rejoiced.
Micah, sorry, you are breaking up really bad. We can't understand what you're saying.
Here, let me switch to Katie's computer real quick. Then.
Okay.
My internet's bad.
Let me start over. Good.
Sorry about that. Okay, my poem is called The Ghosts of Murray High. Long ago, there was a teacher quite merry, but it made him look more scary. The students would sleep, and then they would weep, for the nap got them an F on their essay. But one day, he didn't show up, not even his coffee cup. The students rejoiced, the happiness they did voice, as the sub spoke about poetry. Little did the students know that in the winter snow, the tires did glide, and when the car flipped, he died. But the ghost remained to haunt. To the high school he floated, and past the M he noted the face of a student, a look he thought quite mutant, a smile from ear to ear. Now something is wrong, he bellowed quite long. What's wrong with this fellow? He knew he was normally mellow. This student was in his class. Now something had to be done. No student could have fun. The classroom was boring, not a place for joke touring. He would take matters into his own hands. He thought of a plan so foolproof that even the principal would be caught aloof. I'll lower the heat. That'll take away their happy beat. and worked his magic on the furnace. Now, if you are in class and feel cold, remember the teacher of old. As you sit there without guile, don't let out a smile. It'll anger the ghost of Murray High.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love when the haunted tales are a little bit more jovial, I think is a good word for this. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the humor. I enjoyed especially the meta humor. As the substitute spoke about poetry. And the way you read it actually really helps the poem come to life. That's a really great talent, is reading your own poetry. Sometimes that can be really difficult. So I think you did a wonderful job. Super fun. It kind of took the edge off for me because I was reading lots of spooky stories. And I hope you didn't have a specific teacher in mind at Murray High. I hope. But if you did, then maybe he should share in your success, because this was an excellent poem and I really enjoyed reading it.
All right. Well, thank you all. That is all who we have for tonight that were able to join us this evening. And if you had a teacher that helped you with this story or poem or encouraged you to submit, please give them our thanks. We can't do things like this without teacher support and your parents' support and your support. So thank you so much for participating and submitting with us. Again, this is an annual competition, so we expect to see each and one of you submit another story or poem next year. And hopefully we will be able to meet together for our showcase and not virtually. But thank you again so much.